a little bit about mindset with prosperity. It's important to understand that that our spiritual source is bigger than we are. It's really important to understand that we did not create ourselves. We do not keep ourselves alive. We are not responsible for giving ourselves life, keeping ourselves alive, and we're not responsible for staying alive after this body dies. That all happens for us by a force that is higher than we are, that is greater than we are, and that is the source of all life. Now, you have to, just kind of get your head around the fact that you come from a fountainhead of all power, and that you never are apart from all power, and that power is constantly keeping you alive and keeping you filled with all the energy that you need. Now, it's uncanny how much resistance we put up to that power, which is the source of all of our problems, all of our health problems, all of our financial problems, all of our relationship problems, our political problems, the world problems, is us resisting the power of life itself, resisting that power. A lot of people call that God or goddess. It's fine, whatever you want to call it. Just to understand that there is one source, only one. There's only oneness in the world. Now, that source can have obviously many different manifestations. It can seem, as a rainbow seems to be separate colors, it can seem like separate deities or seem like separate angels, and that's fine. We're not saying that that's wrong or bad, but we have to understand that behind all of that, there's only one. And the reason why it's important to understand that there's only one is because then there's nothing to thwart it. There's nothing to oppose it. There is no spot where God is not, right? There's no, you have nothing to fear. And so in financial terms, what that means is that you are always connected to all wealth. At every moment of time and point of space, you are always connected. You cannot not be connected to all wealth. And you can, if you want to, because whatever works for you as far as images that you can drop into your deep mind, because that's what we need to do, is convince our deep mind of the truth, because our deep mind has a lot of erroneous thinking that is responsible for our problems. But one way that you can think of it is the God and the goddess, spheres 2 and 3 on the tree of life, are your parents, okay, and that you are their child. And that they are royalty. They are king and queen of all the universe, and they have access to all wealth, and that your inheritance is from them, which means you have inherited all wealth. And there is absolutely nothing that is withheld from you. Your parents don't withhold your inheritance. It's you who blocks your inheritance by erroneous thinking. It is we who do that. We turn our backs on it. We forget who we are, and we get so into resentments and upset and problems. And it's really important that you understand when you're going through your day-to-day life, when you start to go for those problems and you start to go for those resentments and go for those conflicts, go for all of that, that there's a bizarre little part of us that loves those things, that wants those things, that craves problems, that craves poverty, that craves, all of that craves conflict. Okay, and we have to take responsibility for the fact that is in us. We can say, no, I don't want this, all we want. But until we're able to say, look, I know that there's part of me that craves this. I know there's part of me that's just being drawn to this like a moth to a flame. And so I'm going to take responsibility for that, and I want to undo all of those thoughts and undo the consequences of all of those thoughts and tendencies. Okay, and that's another place where you can call upon this power, call upon the God and Goddess, call upon the Godhead, call upon that power of infinite intelligence to undo it for you. just please undo this. I no longer want this. But until you can be honest with the fact that part of you does want this, and that now you are undoing that neurosis, that you don't want it anymore, just pretending like it's not there is never going to uncover the problem. And so you're always going to feel like there's a carrot being dangled in front of your face and that you can never get what you want. But because you don't take responsibility for the fact that there's part of you that is in love with your problems, that's in love with your conflict, that's in love with all of the issues that you so fervently are trying to be healed of. And we call this a split mind. A split mind, part of you that is at war with itself. And so we can't heal that ourselves, because you can't heal conflict from the level of conflict. You have to heal conflict from above the conflict. And so that spiritual source exists above all conflict. And so it's just one call away. Lift me out of this conflict, lift me out of these problems, lift me out of this poverty, whatever your issues are, right? I want peace instead of this. I want prosperity instead of this. I want love instead of this. I want joy instead of this. I want my inheritance instead of this. So getting really clear that the will of the divine is that you be prosperous. The will of the divine is that you be joyful. The will of the divine is that you have every good thing because it's already been given to you. It already exists for you. And being willing to have your mind undone, those parts of your mind that are at odds with your good, undone. All of those parts of your mind that are attracted to problems, that are attracted to guilt, that are attracted to fear, that are attracted to all of that. Why else would we be so attracted to tragic movies and scary movies and sad music and all of that? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have those things and that they don't have their important place in the overall, part of the human condition, but why do you think we are so attracted to entertainment and stories and things which don't reflect anything other than problems? Now, of course, we do like stories. Most of us like stories that do resolve at the end, and that's the highest use of those kinds of stories, is that they instill in the deep mind, especially if they're really good stories like the ancient myths and the ancient fairy tales. They instill in the deep mind great seeds of magic, which show us that resolution of conflict is our birthright. So those, in that way, it's true. But a lot of times we go for the news programs that are just completely awful. Well, okay, now what horrible thing happened today? Ooh, did you hear? Did you hear how horrible? If something wonderful happens, nobody wants to know about it. Nobody wants to hear that. Why? Because of exactly what we talked about. There's parts of our split mind that are at war with ourselves. Well, your source, God, Goddess, is not at war with you and is not at war with itself. And so you can call upon that power to lift you out of that illusion, that lift you out of those conflicts, so that you can then come and claim your inheritance. And for us today, that means that we're rich children of rich parents living in a rich world. We have unlimited access to all prosperity. All prosperity. We have unlimited access to it. And now we are recognizing that, and we are claiming that, and we are asking to be delivered from all parts of ourselves that are at odds with the inheritance that was given us. And we recognize that those kinds of problems are arrogant. We no longer want to go against our nature. We no longer want to go against the grain of our prosperity, because that was given to us. We did not create the prosperity for ourselves. That was our birthright. Just like we didn't create our lives, we didn't create our own being. We didn't create all of the good that was given us to go along with who we are. So if we are at odds with our good, that means we are being arrogant. And so we want to lift ourselves up out of that arrogance and go back into humility. Humility is, yes, I'm a rich child. I'm a rich child of very wealthy parents. I live in a rich world. I have all my needs met at every moment of time and point of space. And my needs are met abundantly. My needs are met abundantly with wealth to spare, just like all parts of nature. Nature doesn't just have enough. Have you noticed? Nature doesn't have just enough flowers. No, if you needed some flowers, then those flowers just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. You don't have just enough grains of sand. You have infinite amounts of grains of sand. You don't have enough water in the ocean. You have an infinite amount of water in the ocean. You don't have just enough stars in the sky. You have an infinite amount of stars in the sky. And that's the truth for you too. You don't only have enough to get by, you have enough and then some, because nature is extravagant. Nature is lavish. Okay, nature is not stingy, and neither are you. Now, the only time that you are stingy is when you say no to who you are. So you are now coming to terms with that and saying, I no longer want to be at conflict with my prosperity. I no longer want to be at odds with the gifts that I've been given. I want now to accept them. I want to receive them. And I am committed on a day-to-day basis to receiving the good, which is my birthright, and to undo and have it undone on my behalf all of those parts of myself which are at odds with my good. All right? Okay, so let's just take a moment and do a real quick meditation. If you're in a place where it's comfortable and safe to do so, go ahead and close your eyes and take some very deep breaths and relax your body and mind and allow yourself to feel loved. Just allow yourself to feel the love that Spirit has for you right now. You are Spirit's beloved child in whom Spirit is very well pleased. There is nothing you could do or say that would change the infinite love that Spirit has for you. Just like there's nothing that a baby could do to change the way that the mother feels about it. The mother doesn't get upset that the baby has a dirty diaper. Doesn't stop loving the baby because of that. And so no mistakes that we've made could ever, no matter what they are, stop Spirit from loving us just like any other mother. And we recognize now and we feel all the prosperity, all the wealth that has already been given us. We've been given everything. And it's lavish. It's opulent. It is very vast, the amount of wealth that has given us. And it never ends. And we recognize that there have been parts of our own mind and being that have been at odds with this lavish abundance. And we are now asking that those parts of our mind be healed, that we be lifted out of it, that those thoughts just be removed. We no longer want them. We want what was given to us. We want our inheritance. We don't want to try to make stuff up for ourselves anymore because we know that we could never, ever do as good of a job as that which was already given to us. So we are favoring the God and the Goddess's gifts to us over the so-called gifts that we have formed for ourselves. And we now receive all the prosperity that is our birthright. And we do so with so much gratitude and love. And we are committed to letting go of everything within us that is at odds with that prosperity. Thank you very much. And together we say, blessed be. All right, well, thank you again for being here. I adore you so much. And just remember how loved you are. You are loved beyond all measure. Spirit loves you just the way you are right now. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do squat. All you have to do is accept it. You have to feel it. You have to feel the love that is your birthright. It's exactly what is true. And if you're not feeling it, it's because you're trying to defend against it. So don't try to defend against the love that Spirit has for you. Accept it. Feel loved. Be cared for. It's your birthright.